Yeah.
No, I dodged it best I could. It was bumper cars.
Is it westbound?
I don't know which direction it is.
It was
It's
actually, there was
east
a-
of
there was a
167th.
car
It's
sitting
not on us.
north and south. There was one over in the shoulder and one back over on the south shoulder.
So exciting.
Okay, call the meeting to order. Start the meeting off with a pledge and a prayer. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you today asking for peace and prosperity for the city that we love. We hope that you give wisdom to the city staff and governing body members to make wise and prudent decisions for the city of Goddard. In Jesus Christ's name, we pray. Amen. Okay, approval of the agenda. Have you all taken a look at the agenda? Happy with it?
We struck H2, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
Correct.
Motion by Sarah, second by Brent. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passes. Citizen comments? Anybody? It's just the women's club? That's it, okay. All right, item E, appointments. Appointment of planning commission.
Honorable Mayor and City Council, this is a reappointment to the Planning Commission. So just quick background, Planning Commissioners operate on a 3-year term basis, with 1/3 of the Planning Commissioners be reappointed each year. So you're going to see this year after year after year. It's not unique for this year. You'll see it next year and the year following, etc. The mayor appoints the commissioners to office, and they are confirmed by the governing body. Darren Klein and Shane Grafing were originally appointed in 2009 and have served several terms back to back. Their current term expires this year in December of 2021, and they are requesting another 3-year term, which would expire in 2024. So the analysis, this is the bylaws, Planning Commissioner bylaws, Article 1, the commission shall organize annually the first regular meeting after the annual appointment of new members, which is normally the first city council meeting in December, but obviously this is not hard and fast, it could be any month, it just has to be sometime during the year. Commissioners are appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the city council for a term of 3 calendar years on a staggered basis, which is approximately 1/3 of the commissioners being appointed each year. This is kind of what it would look like if you ratified it today. They'd be reappointed in January 2022, and then next year, the following year, then they'd renew in December of 2024 for a 3-year term. This is Darren Klein and Shane Grafing. Their bios are in the agenda packets. Financially none, legally approved as the form, so it's a recommendation to the City Council. Approve the mayor's decision to renew the 3-year terms of the commissioners, Darren Klein and Commissioner Shane Grafing, to the Planning Commission.
Problem with either one of them? Motion?
Motion to approve the 3-year terms.
Motion by Brent,
Second.
second by Sarah. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, item F, consent agenda. Yes, take a look at the account payable. Motion by Larry,
Second.
second by Sarah. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, motion passed. Okay, item G1, I'm going to step out. I have given you all a copy of the recusal letter and abstain from my vote, just due to my relationship with the ground owners. I'm going to step out. Ryan, do you mind getting me into Ryan's office whenever you're done? Okay.
On the October 4th meeting, City Council reviewed and discussed creating a new infrastructure policy to ease the burden of future plant expansions by the population growth. In that, we discussed a plant equity fee and a benefit fee, with the plant equity fee being for plant expansion, as the current plant capacity will be reached at approximately 8,000 to 8,500 population, perhaps sooner with commercial growth within the Starbond district. It would also, on the water side, be used for source water and ultimately a water treatment facility for our local system, wherein the benefit fee would be used to finance the cost of extending sanitary sewer and water mains into an area to meet growth, and then as growth goes into that area, they pay the benefit fee for their portion of the pipe that they're accessing. What we're talking about is the parcel here with a field. This is Kellogg, and so this is the 80 acres that was referenced for application for future equity fee in the proposal from ICT Development. Council members at the October 4th meeting commented on the need for development to carry its share of infrastructure costs, the at-large costs, with the city at large not to assume any additional costs in the individual development. Council unanimously directed staff to create an ordinance amending code to include the new plant equity fee and infrastructure benefit fee. ICT Development presented a request for the October 18th meeting that will be presented on the next slide. Staff did talk with the development team, kept them apprised of the October 5th decision, of the October 4th decision, and then again on October 29th, we reiterated some of the previous discussions. The proposal, which I will turn over to the development team if they want to speak on, but the long and the short of it is the estimated cost for a lift station is $600,000, with the development paying half and they're requesting that Goddard pay half, and assess an equity fee at $1,500 per lot for approximately 202 lots, generating $303,000 to offset that cost. Extending water service from the existing 12-inch main located at Kellogg and 215th, south along 215th, and then turning into the entrance on the south side, and then extending as well from a line over along Clark Davidson. As I stated in the staff report, and the city engineer's recommendation would be simply to run down 23rd Street, extending the Walnut main, which is an 8-inch main, to that subdivision instead. They request that the city do this at cost, with the interior portion being assessed through special assessments to the development itself. Paving and drainage, ICT petition for paving and draining improvements and site grading and retention, all assessed to the addition on a per equal lot basis through the special assessment statute. And staff's analysis is that the proposal doesn't adhere to the City Council's October 4th policy directive. In accordance with the October 4th discussion, staff recommends that any assistance to any subdivision utilize a special assessment or cost recovery process. And it's recommended that you consider the request and direct staff accordingly. And I'll go back to the city engineer's map and cost estimate. Do you have any questions for me before I turn it over to the development team?
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Chris Bone from Garber. I represent ICT Development, engineer for that company. With me tonight is Kirk Richards, Brian Legale, the two developers that make up ICT Development. So we came out tonight to visit with you once again and kind of test the waters, what you're thinking about in the way of any possible assistance to make this development possible. So I had a couple questions from the presentation. And at the last meeting, we talked about the cost of the water, and Harlan, if I may ask you a question. You were thinking you would want, for the longer term benefit of the city, you would want water extended down 215th and across on 29th and come in from two ways.
Right.
Okay, terrific. I just wanted to make sure that you didn't think that we could just use that southerly
Yeah, I just think for, pressure and flow, I think it would be best to have the system looped if at all possible. So your request to bring it down to 15th, I fully understand that, but then I think my recommendation to the council would be also to bring it over from Walnut. Now, if they so chose not to do that, that's certainly their decision. But
Okay. The other question I had was a general question, and Brian, maybe this goes to you. You said that the council had been considering a main benefit fee similar to what Wichita had put into place. Is that correct?
What we proposed was a two-pronged approach, and Micah, feel free to speak up if I'm not succinct. But we offered a fee that was identical to the city of Wichita's, which neither they nor us could determine how that calculation was generated, or going straight with the at cost, $1,500 a lot mirror. It's just, we couldn't identify how the numbers for Wichita were generated.
Would that be contemplating both policies, an equity fee for your plant expansion and a main benefit fee for infrastructure extension?
Yes, sir. And
Both?
it
Okay.
mirrors what the city of Wichita did recently in Talia, which is the nearest subdivision to Goddard, immediately across 167th and Maple, where they applied those same fees for the extension of their system west to 167.
What they use in Wichita, and I think in the first letter I sent to the city back in September, we talked about the main benefit fee utilized by the city of Wichita, which is 6.2 cents a square foot for the gross acreage of what you're going to plat. It's just the gross acreage. That would put about $240,000 of main benefit fee into the mix if you utilize that policy for this property. And then as any other property would utilize the same lift station, they would pay that same 6.2 or whatever you adjusted it to at the time of that development. So that is a source of generation of revenue. I'll just reiterate, on the lift station project, it's almost like a water tower. There's a minimum size lift station to put in there, and it happens to be able to serve all of the basin, with the exception of a force main increase. So imagine having a development come in and pay for a brand new water tower, but double the number of people could use it. First one in pays 100%. Other folks who come in don't have to pay anything for it. And that's why we're asking for the in essence, a 50-50 split on the sewer lift station. Because as that area develops, there'll be other people who want to utilize that lift station with an extension. And in the way we contemplate this subdivision, the sewer line will be right up at the bike trail at the north end, easily extended into the property to the north, and they would merely have to tie on and go. So that's the consideration there, just to remind everybody of what we were thinking.
And Chris, just for the benefit of the council, if I can interrupt you just a second.
Yes.
The 6.2 cents, we're not sure just where that number comes from as far as the city of Wichita. Interestingly enough, though, if you take the lift station cost, your $600,000, and spread it out to the drainage basin, the area that could be served, it actually, and just make an actual calculation in this case, just for information, it comes up to be 8 cents. So it's just slightly higher, but still, that spreads the entire cost out over the whole area that would be served by the lift station, and that's what's presented in my the calculated cost. So just point of reference, I guess.
Yes,
And
okay.
as I understand, I believe the initial request had the lift station located off of 23rd Street.
Yes, near the lowest part of the site, the physically lowest part of the site. That's correct.
And then I was confused with the reference to the bike trail.
Well, I'm going to step up here. As the property develops, that sanitary sewer will work its way up in one or more than one locations, right up by the bike trail. So the ground slopes down from the north, primarily from about a third of the way down south. So even maintaining a moderate depth of 8 or 9 feet of depth, it'll continue to just go right up the hill. And it would serve that whole acreage, or a major portion of the acreage to the north. And then Harlan, on the water line, the off-site water,
Right.
12-inch. So the way it's contemplated, the city would pay the oversizing to 12 down to 15th. Is that correct?
I actually, okay, just for the purposes of my calculation, I guess I didn't break out any oversizing.
Okay.
I understood that the request was for the city to bring water down from Kellogg.
Correct.
And so that was the 12-inch that 2,840 feet of 12-inch that would come down from Kellogg. I just used $50 a foot. That may be a little high, but that was about 142,000. And then, so no oversizing really there. I guess I just allotted that all to the city. And as I understood the request anyway. And then bringing it over from Walnut was about 1,000 feet of 8-inch. I just brought it over as 8-inch since that's what the current system is there, and had about 40-some thousand in that. So those were the two pieces, I guess, to get water to both ends.
And then within, the water system within the addition would tie it together and
Right.
create the loop.
Right.
So you'd have that,
Right.
you'd have that.
Now, I do also, Shaw, I didn't include this in what I'd estimated the total cost, but there is a piece, at some point, the city would want to bring water from their main entrance, which is up here, on down to 23rd, but I didn't include that in any of the cost portion for the city right now. That was another, let's see here, I guess I don't have that on here. Yeah, that was another future. I called that a future 12-inch water line, bringing it on down. Because your main drive, I don't know if we have that slide, is kind of up towards the north third of this 88 acres.
That's correct.
Yeah. So that's all that we brought it down to that point. That was the length I used at that point. So,
Okay, thank you.
but it was all 100% city, unless I misunderstood. I think that's what your request was at the last meeting. wasn't
That
it?
was the original request.
Right.
That is correct.
Right.
That's correct. So hopefully with that in mind and the structure of this, I'd like to ask Kirk Richards to come up and speak a little bit about what they really plan on doing here. Do we have the preliminary plat that was submitted with the letter that could go up on the board, please?
We can. Although the one caveat to that design is that it maintains the county right-of-way standard as opposed to an urban standard for, say, future road width widening and whatnot.
Pardon?
So that could, the plat that was included in the staff report is based upon the existing county road right-of-way as opposed to, say, an urban standard road right-of-way. So that may adversely impact the size of the westernmost parcels.
We used a 60-foot half on both of those roads for an urban standard
Okay.
with the corner clip, a commercial corner clip.
So this sketch right here probably does figure that in.
Yes,
That 60
yes, it
foot.
does.
Yeah.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. So, Kirk?
Thank you, council. Just wanted to talk to you guys briefly about some developments that we have done. We've done several developments in Mays and Wichita over the last several years. Two that we've started less than a year ago, both in Mays. All the permits are pulled. All the sites are under construction. And will be at 100% by the end of the year. And, we're excited about this development. We're not only builders, but investors. So we have basically the first phase spoken for, which we will, not just build custom homes, but we'll build several specs and models. And so if we have, let's say, 60 lots, maybe 70 lots first phase, just so you guys kind of know, it'll generate $20 million in revenue for taxes for you guys. So, and I just wanted to kind of bring some of those numbers to you guys, and then see if you guys had any questions for us that you might have. Anything? Would you like to add anything to that? Okay.
Is that first phase, would it be tucked up in the northwest corner? Would that be the plan, or would it be?
Probably, since the lift station would be at the south end of the
Right,
property,
right.
it'd probably be that southerly third.
Okay.
Yeah, along 23rd.
Along 23rd, yes. And then just move up north with the sewer in subsequent phases. Thanks, Kurt.
All right, thank you.
So what we'd ask tonight is that your consideration on the questions that we asked in the letter. Would you be willing to participate in any way with the lift station? And we understand that you are planning on establishing an equity fee. And so that would be understood, the lots would be subject to that for a building permit. And then any participation on helping with the water down to the two entrances. So those are the questions that we're asking tonight. And with that, we'll stand for any questions that you may have.
Well, one of the questions I have is that, do you plan on developing the north, or is that somebody else's thing, or what?
That ICT development does not have control of that ground to the north. So it would be someone else taking the initiative to develop that ground.
So we're investing in something that we don't know is gonna ever happen to the north.
Yes, you'd be investing in the idea that that land becomes marketable because it would be fully served by sewer and water.
So if we don't oversize the lift station and they develop it to the north, then I guess we can just make them put their own lift station in if they want to develop north there, right? No?
Well, I think from what I've heard from Chris and his other engineer, Ken Lee, is essentially that lift station is the wet well portion, the hard costs for that lift station are pretty much set, even what's required for this addition versus maybe the additional ones, other than maybe upsizing some pumps down the road. You know, because you've got to put in a certain lift station to a certain depth that's at the lower end. And so I think we had asked Garver to give us a breakdown. Is there a cost of a lift station just for your 88 acres, and then how much additional cost would there be to maybe upsize that? And you can correct me if I'm wrong, but essentially just the hard stuff to get in the ground is what costs to get the lift station there, just even for this development. So the piping and such, other than maybe oversizing the force main from a 4 to a 6, there was some discussion that might be advised, but essentially the incremental cost for adding the additional, 55 acres
73
is relatively small. So is what I have heard them advise us. So I guess it makes sense. It makes sense to just do one lift station, quite honestly, and not plan on doing one in the future, because there's just not that much incremental cost for this one to be able to handle that area to the north and also the 30 acres to the east, I believe it is. Did I answer your question? Hopefully, I don't know.
Well, but I mean, it's just all like speculation. Give you an example of when we did Autumn Blaze, if you remember that. That was all speculation that was all going to be built out. And then after they got what they wanted, dumped the water off onto that empty lot, and then as a city, we ended up having to just now get rid of that water for them because the developer skipped town and didn't worry about it and left the city holding the bag.
We worked on Rustic Creek, so we had to.
You're familiar with handling the stormwater. He's familiar with that.
I'm very familiar with handling that water that came off. Yes, sir.
And then a number of other things, you know, like we did that development over at Rustic Creek, and then they wanted to put a turnabout or roundabout in there and wanted us to pay for that. I mean, after we agreed to let them do it, then all of a sudden they want us to pay for something additional stuff. And it seems like it's a never-ending deal. When after the developer gets what he wants, then all of a sudden here comes all these wish lists that they want and want the city to pay for. And that's, I mean, we have a budget we have to stick to, and we have people we have to answer to, and part of our, at least the way I look at it, is that the people that are living here now have paid their dues, and they don't want to front more money for a bigger plant and stuff like that. That's why we put these extra fees in there to cover that. If the plant needs to be expanded, to help cover that expansion to where we don't have to raise water fees and sewer fees for everybody because of a new development coming in.
I understand how difficult it is to spend money. But then, this brings 202 new lots to Goddard by virtue of spending that money. And if you think that the average price of construction and the home cost, it's over 60 million that they'll bring in construction, 202 new homes in Goddard. So there's a trade-off. It's not for naught. It creates a new vibrant part of your community. And it opens up the ability for the adjacent areas to develop similarly as well. And without a lift station, and there's no lift station there, none of that basin can develop. So it's just going to sit there, for years or what have you, until someone else takes the initiative to come in. You had talked about a big master lift station project further south a mile. A couple of studies, the Southwest Sewer Basin study. That doesn't help much now with the developer wanting to develop, adjacent to the city in essence. So that's kind of where it sits. It is an investment. I agree with you 100%. It's an investment. You'd be making an investment, and you'd be speculating on a return, a further return on that investment. So I do understand it, and that's a very true assessment of the situation. But I can vouch for the veracity of these developers. They will come in and they will get a nice product built, and they will move through that addition swiftly. Because I've seen them do that.
I'm newish to all this and don't really know a ton about development agreements and things like that. So maybe I'm way off base here. But is it something that the city says, well, no, at this point we can't do the 300 to help contribute to that? But is it something that can be written into the development agreement that if you guys do it, then when that north acreage gets developed and they want to tap into that lift station, then at that point the city says, okay, the new developer, to do that you have to reimburse old developer your share of what you're wanting to take from it. Because then the city can still do what we've said we're going to do, which is we're not funding developers' projects anymore. We're using the 2 new fee setups that we have to help support our infrastructure for this growth you're bringing to us, so we don't later have to take on another debt and then raise our consumers' water bills again like we had to last time when we had to redo the sewer system, which we just managed to refinance and bring our bills down for our residents. So I don't know if that's something that is feasible, that we can do something like that, or...
That's a legal question.
Well, because it would be specially assessed, the developers aren't actually writing a check for that. It's on the properties to be developed.
Mm-hmm.
And so when homeowners essentially buy their lot, they're assuming that cost of putting in that infrastructure. So what they're asking is that we just cut that in half for the residents that buy there, with the remaining residents at large carrying that cost until future development occurs to the north. That's what they're asking for. So there would be no one to reimburse.
Well, if the developers front the portion they're asking us for and don't put it off on the people who are building the houses,
Then they could.
then they would be reimbursed.
Yes, ma'am.
If they don't assess it in specials. Just like when I built my house, my specials were $60 a month. The next phase in my development, they were $5 a month. I don't know if they got charged more for their house as a base fee, but I know they benefited, the second phase benefited from the specials I paid.
Right.
That's life.
No, I understand what you're
So-
saying. Right, the interesting thing is how you could reimburse that. That's what I'm struggling with, the mechanics of a reimbursement.
Right.
And I don't know, I haven't thought about that, whether there's a creative way to make that work or not.
Okay.
It's something I'd have to think about and probably do some research on.
It'd be a lot easier if you just were developing that North Plain.
Yeah, if they had control of all the ground, this would be very simple, because they would
Right.
simply petition it and it's done, right? It would be equitably assessed for all the lots that can be developed. That's pretty straightforward.
But also the water can be tapped on too, so it's more than just the sewer. I mean, we're bringing water.
Right,
Other
yeah.
places-
Yeah, the water, right. So, yeah, the benefit of water coming down 215th is you can serve both sides of the road, and that first half mile could serve both sides of the road. The second half mile, at least to the entrance, would allow the property to the west to have access to water. So, water's a little easier because it's not a gravity system, it's pressurized, so you can take it about anywhere.
Well, the thing I see is that us doing this is gonna set a precedent for every other development that comes along. They're gonna want the same treatment. And our budget probably at that time won't be able to handle that, and so there's, other developers are gonna start crying foul because we gave money to a lift station down at Arbor Creek, and that turned around and bit us too, because my understanding when that was done is that we were only gonna pay like $150,000 or something like that on it. It ended up being a lot more. I don't know where it came into play that it almost doubled, but it did.
It was 20 years later, or whatever. It was,
And so,
yeah.
right now, I can see that you're coming in here wanting the same treatment that they got, and it's just gonna be a continuation of that. Every development that comes in is gonna want us to participate in a big lift station or meeting their development with piping. And who knows if our budget will handle it, and who knows what type of lawsuits could come up because we're not helping everybody. I don't know, that's a question for Ryan.
If I may, we're not asking for it because they got it or anything else. We're asking for it because we're trying to be competitive with the lots that we're going to be competing against in Wichita, which that's how they get treated. And so that's what we got to stay on the same playing field as the city of Wichita to be competitive with them. Otherwise, yeah, we can add those expenses onto our lots and onto our specials, but now we're out of the market because the city's going to be lower because they do that same thing. And all the other small towns around Wichita do it. Anybody that's interested in growth does the same thing. Mays, Andover, all the other cities around do the same thing to keep it competitive. Otherwise, you're not competitive anymore. So it's not that we're wanting something just because they got it or any other reason. It's just we have to stay competitive with the city of Wichita.
And I'll go back to it, in Wichita, at the 6.2 cents a square foot main benefit fee, that would generate about $238,000 towards the cost of this. And then you'd petition the rest of it. So then the main benefit fee, as the other basin developed, you'd charge the 6.2 cents a square foot. Or like Harlan suggested, you take this basin and make it 8 cents a square foot. So it's completely equitable as it goes. And so that's how they handle it. That's how they handle the growth. And yes, do they take an investment in the area around? Yes, they do. They make an infrastructure investment to help spur development. When one development comes in and there's water and sewer, there's more to follow. That's because you can see sewer's the key right here. You need to have a sewer system. If you don't have a sewer system, forget about it. Water's easier again, but sewer, you need it.
So can we afford this?
No,
Huh?
no.
You can't afford it. That's the only question. Can we afford this?
You can't afford
And
to
still do
carry.
the projects that we want to do? Community center, North Park, because we promised that
Yeah, we
stuff to
weren't
get done.
committed to other stuff.
And our
And
existing
if
street
we
projects.
allow this, are we gonna be able to finish our other projects?
Because we have to also assume that we're carrying the full life cycle of that, of the city's participation, because we've had no one ask, or no one even give an inkling that they would want to participate in developing the ground to the north that we're banking on for development for cost recovery. So we have to assume that we're going to have to cover that for the life of the issuance.
But aren't we
So we
set?
either need to, at that point, curtail costs, because we temp note it, we have to pay for it. It's, you're putting on a credit card. And then we talk about trying to be competitive with wages. So, but the property taxes then, that would be generated from the development, isn't going to law enforcement salaries or to, you know, it's essentially restricted back into debt service. So even the general fund at large isn't growing because it's restricted. It's paying off the debt. When the whole premise is, as we discussed on October 4th, cash flowing growth and minimizing the impact of growth on our existing residents through the equity fee and the benefit fee for extending mains, say, in the right of way that then future development would tap into.
Then what's a smaller lift station gonna cost, and what's it only gonna cost one water line going to this piece of property to get these guys going?
I think we.
The lift station's a fixed cost.
We gotta loop it because, I mean, this water stays stagnant down on one end, right, Arlen? Where it can, and that, or if the water line breaks and you're down, then you have no way of backfeeding the residents in that area.
So we gotta loop our water line no matter what.
Well, but I mean,
Well, I think you can either do it now or you can do it later, I guess, you know. I mean, you might be looking, I estimated bringing the water line over from Walnut it's 1,000 feet at $40 a foot, so I think that's roughly $40,000, $50,000, that's just
Right.
construction.
I mean, you could put it in there and then a year from now, put another one in, right? When to loop it then? You say it has to be looped? or not?
Well, I'm going to say, whether you do it now or later, I'm going to always encourage that you get it looped at some point.
Yeah,
Okay,
at
so
some
if you
point,
want to
okay.
pull that out, I guess you
Yeah.
could pull that out.
Pull
But
that
it's
out.
absolutely mandatory you bring the water line down from Kellogg. You know, just to
Okay.
get water
Okay.
into this development.
Okay,
And now, and they'd mentioned bringing it down to that first drive, and that was roughly, 142,000, take it times 1.3 for the design, inspection, administration. You know, that might be, instead of the 300,000 in water line investment, you might have 200,000.
yeah,
Just bare minimum to get there.
uh-huh,
And the lift station then, from what I'm hearing, it's 600,000 either way, whether you size it for this 88 acres or there might be a little cost savings there perhaps, but so you're still looking at a 50-50 share roughly. Okay, let's take it to two. Maybe it's 500,000. Maybe it's the lift station's 500,000. That's 250,000 for developers, 250,000 for the city.
yeah.
Plus 200,000 for the water line, so you're at 450,000. So bare minimum, maybe 450,000. If I'm running some rough numbers here.
Less principal, less interest charges.
Right.
as well.
Can the city
That's
afford
not what we
that?
don't have.
Not without a tax increase or cutting plan projects and services. And Matt, feel free to, if you want to go into the weeds on why and how.
We budget $600,000 a year, which is our city property tax for capital improvements. We are committed for the next 4 years to $375,000 of that for the Arbor Creek State Lift Station and our contribution to the Reza Creek project. So that takes our $600,000 a year
which includes necessary street projects, includes park upgrades, it includes everything else that we do that is not a regular expenditure. It includes planning for and trying to figure out a way to build a community center, a new library. It's all included in that 600,000. We're already, more than half of it's already spoken for every year for 4 years. So I don't know how to do this on top of that and do anything else. And the only way to budget more money into capital improvement from the general fund is to take revenue we've already applied to our regular operations, taking revenue away from basically taking funding away from our regular operations to fund this. Or we have a tax increase to make up that offset.
So what is the permit fee? Like, we pull 60 permits, where does all that money go? I mean, I'm just asking, I mean, where does that go through the city? Because you're gonna have, the cost of 60 permits coming your way, and then I'm not sure exactly how the tax revenue, but
Well, that goes into.
20 million.
We have a pavement preservation cycle where every 3 to 5 years a road gets a treatment. We also, as you know, from day one, assume full responsibility for that lift station, the care and maintenance of the lift station and the lines that are there. So we use those funds to help offset those costs.
Building permit revenue typically goes toward our community development operations, regular operations. It's regular revenue, it's not one-time revenue, we use it for regular expenditures.
And that includes because half of our building permits goes to Sedgwick County.
Right.
But when we pull those 60 permits, you're gonna get the $1,500, that's
We'll get
100,000.
30, we'll get 50% of those building permits.
But
Sedgwick County.
the equity fee.
Well, the equity fee, though, is not designed, as we said, for financing the cost of ongoing infrastructure. It's to finance the cost of plant expansion and processing for that increased growth. So we know that we have a basin that we're going to need to have to expand.
So are you saying we'd have the equity fee?
The equity fee goes into essentially a reserve fund so that in the future, we would be able to add basin capacity for treatment of, say, wastewater without raising the rates on our existing customers.
So are you saying there's gonna be an equity fee whether we did this out of pocket or if we do this as a partnership then?
Going forward, yes, just like the city of Wichita with what they did for Talia.
Well, equity fee is separate than main benefit fee.
Correct.
Are you back on the main benefit fee?
The main benefit fee we would do if we extend service, and that's why I kept in those emails going back to early October and reiterated after our meeting, saying, worry about your base load. Don't worry about any oversizing or anything like that, because we'll have to do that assessment if it benefits us to look at oversizing, because we would like to, but we just want you to worry about what your costs are, and then if it looks like it'll benefit the city down the road, we would at that point address any sort of oversizing costs.
And in this case, the base cost is really the whole basin cost, so that's where we find ourselves.
And it's just, we have, other than the primary lift station at the wet well for the treatment facility, we have a lift station at Spring Hill St. Andrews, and we have a lift station for Elk Ridge. Elk Ridge serves fewer homes than what this development would serve, and did not seem to be an issue. You spoke of Maze. What incentives did Maze give you for their $60 million?
the same as the city of Wichita, correct?
Yeah, the Maze project, which is named Mallard Estates, actually that's served by City of Wichita Sewer. So it was straight up City of Wichita Sewer. They use the main benefit fee and charge the main benefit fee. And on that one,
Did they pay for
interestingly
the
enough,
lift station and
the main, no, there was a gravity main there, but they still were assessed to 6.2 cents a square foot, even though the sewer main was right across the street.
Right.
So that was
Because the line was pre-existing and that's what you were.
Yes, exactly, exactly. And that's the beauty of the main benefit fee. If it's there and you have it and you've got facilities there, it helps pay back infrastructure costs, not plant enhancements, but infrastructure costs that were borne by the city from prior projects.
And by statute can be specially assessed where the equity fee cannot.
Yes.
But I'm not one that wants to use that fees that we're gonna be charging, because there's gonna come a point in time where our water supply is gonna need to be added on to, and our well fields, if I'm not wrong, probably we won't be able to add any wells there, we'll have to go somewhere else, is that not right, Carl?
Well, I think we were thinking, yeah, we would have to find new location
We're
for
already in the
water,
exploratory.
water rights, yes.
And so that would be a huge expense on the city to go and bring another line in from somewhere else, because we tried to grow too fast and ended up with this additional cost of bringing another line in somewhere for some other wells, not counting the cost of the wells. But each well's over 100,000, right? Carlin, just to drill a well.
But I'll share with you too, Larry, keep in mind, we have roughly around 320 million gallons under perfection or appropriated, and we're using about 210 million gallons. So we've got a little bit of breathing room as far as our water volume rights. I mean, to be quite honest with you. So, but yes, down the road, we need to be looking for additional water sources. So.
And I hope you need to, because you're growing. So that's why we're here. We'd like to help you grow. So I know you have other issues you need to deal with, but it would be wonderful to know that you're moving in that direction where it's a growing, vibrant city.
Well, you have to ask, do you guys want more rooftops in Goddard? I mean, that's one thing, because if you do.
But we can't break ourselves to putting those new rooftops in. We
Yeah.
can't bankrupt the city and then ask our residents for even more money to, to me, that doesn't make sense.
Well, and I
That's like
understand
me
that.
saying, here's my budget, I want this shiny new car, I'm gonna go buy this shiny new car because I want it, even though it doesn't make good business sense.
Yeah, and I understand that. I'm not talking about
Yeah.
the budget, but I have a lot of friends that live in Goddard, and I do a lot of development in Mays, and I live in Mays, and constantly people are saying, we want restaurants, we want shopping, we want entertainment, sports bars, but you guys can't get those because you don't have rooftops. At some point, you guys are gonna have to say, okay, we're gonna bring some rooftops in to give some things back to the community. And I understand your guys' concerns, but I think if everybody in Goddard knew that, hey, this is where we're going to have some amenities to enjoy, at some point, you're gonna have to have them. I did a little research the other night, on Zillow last night. There's one house for rent in the city of Goddard, and there's 5 houses for sale in the city of Goddard. So there's and you can pull it up right now. And I know there's other sites.
Right, but I don't know that those sites are up to date, because I live in St. Andrews and I've seen at least 6, 7, 8 for sale signs, and there's several in seasons, and I understand what you're saying.
Yeah, well, I pulled it last. I'm just saying, if you guys are trying to grow, there's not a lot to sell. You've got great schools, great community. People love living here. I'm not trying to say anything bad. I'm just saying, we can generate more population for restaurants and other people to invest money and, to do things here. That's where it's eventually gonna have to go.
Yeah, and we do need more rooftops. We've had that discussion multiple times. We would like more rooftops, but like I said, it doesn't do anybody any good if we can't afford it and it comes at the detriment of the city.
Sure.
Part
And I understand.
of the reason people enjoy living here is because for as long as I've been on the council, which has been over 20 years, we've tried to make sure that it was a people-friendly community where, like our park out here, make sure people had a good quality of life when they're here. What good is having a urban setting in somewhere where you can't enjoy your surroundings? I mean, you can live in New York City, but how many people want to? But if you live in Goddard where you've got, where you've
10 million people.
where you've got amenities, where people can go out and recreate, and people can go out and feel like they're safe. I mean, right now, I think, as far as I'm concerned, Goddard is one of the safest areas that you can live in right now, because we've tried to grow responsibly, and we've tried to make sure that we didn't grow so fast that we weren't safe anymore, and that we could take care of what we had. And I think that's part of the draw to Goddard, that people want to be here, is because they can see that we want quality of life in this town, and we don't want to sacrifice that quality of life just to get rooftops.
Well, and the more rooftops we get, yes, that generates tax dollars, but those tax dollars get to go to pay for the extra police officers we're gonna have, the extra public works people we're gonna have, the extra city staff we need to support all of that.
But it also brings the other businesses and industries here that see this as a viable place where they have homes for their employees. And they can look at this as a centralized area to set up shop. I mean, it's an ebb and flow.
It is.
It's an ebb and flow.
And it has to make sense, because we want your development, and we want you as a community partner. And the council's direction to staff has been clear that we want to always try and minimize our impact and participation in private development. And in 2010, when every other city in the metro was giving property tax abatements to new home starts, new housing permits, Goddard's council opted not to do that. And the council, several of whom are still on our board here, had the approach that Goddard is special, not on special. And so we want to partner with you, but it has to make economic sense. And in the absence of cutting programs or projects at this stage because of commitments that are related to growth, both commercial and residential, we know that for the next 4 years, we have to really tighten our belt and be prudent in our steps.
Well, I guess we would ask, can we get an answer to the questions on the letter? So you can know where to go.
Or if we're participating in any way.
Correct. Is there any level of participation? I guess maybe that's the better question.
Well, I wouldn't mind helping with the loop, because I know that the loop is essential. We've had to loop different areas of our community, just for safety, for services. So for us to help in the loop, I don't have a problem with that necessarily. That isn't that big of an expense, I don't think, is it? If we got a $40,000 loop thing.
Well, I think it's
No, it
more
was
than
like
40.
300,000 total.
Well, again, that included bringing the water down 215th, which is a must. That's an absolute. That's what we need to bring water down.
I'm not saying that. I'm saying.
But bringing it over from Walnut.
It has to be brought over.
Well, I think what Larry is saying, he would be willing to participate in the portion bringing it over from Walnut into the southeast corner of this development. Maybe just that piece, as opposed to bringing it, if I'm saying what you're meaning there. And you know, that's 40,000. I mean, that's just construction, and yeah, I'm going to say it's in the 50 to 100,000 range by the time you apply design, inspection, administration, temporary notes, all that. So it's in the 50 to that 40,000 is just a construction cost. And we typically apply a 1.35 factor for petition type projects, and this wouldn't be petition, but the city would still have some design and inspection and that sort of thing type costs, so, yeah. But yeah, it wouldn't be 300,000. We're saying
Okay.
200 and maybe roughly 200,000 to bring the piece down from 215th, whether that be developer or city, you know. What I heard you say, though, is bringing it over from Walnut is what you might be interested in
Because
participating.
they don't necessarily need that loop to serve their area.
No,
If it's
no,
something that we want.
they gotta have one source of water from somewhere, and it makes the best sense to bring it down. I just would hate to bring it from Walnut into this, because that's just an 8-inch, and I just think bringing it down from Kellogg makes better sense to serve, to provide that one pipeline in to water, for water service.
I don't know if that would help you out or not.
What about the water coming down 215th? Would the developer have to bear the cost of that? 100%? Because that can serve properties on both sides of 215th all the way down to the entrance.
Well,
I think we would take the same approach, which is trying to determine that, what's the base load of the development versus not. Because most of our mains along thoroughfares like 215th, 183rd, 199th are, particularly in the new parts, are all 12-inch. So I would defer to Harlan how that's calculated, because that's a Chris Harlan realm. I didn't get to that level of math, so.
Well, I mean, I guess if you were to look at that water main needed to serve this development, you look at it similar to what you would the lift station, in that, okay, the lift station is going to serve 173 acres, okay? This water line is potentially not only going to serve this development, but the development to the north, yes, maybe the 30 acres to the east, and maybe other developments. The water line has the potential for serving probably a much larger area. And so, but how you determine what that area is, we haven't tried to venture a guess on that yet. But, I mean, obviously, if there was to be some area determined, and then you determine what their 80 acres or their 88 acres is of that larger area, and apportion it accordingly, would be another way you could look at it. As opposed to them asking for 100% city cost.
And once we identify that cost, then at that point, Matt would work on what's the impact of that cost at large on our anticipated and planned and committed projects going forward. And obviously, we would try and provide an offset for X number of homes that offset that. But again, when you do that, you're restricting your tax base. So if you're relying on that for debt service.
And I guess I just say that I hope you don't think we're trying to be elusive here, but there are just a myriad,
A lot of moving
myriad of combinations as to how you could spread this out. We were just asked to address what was specifically requested in their letter. And so that's what we provided, I believe, that Brian and with my assistance has been, tried to provide to you tonight. But other scenarios,
We don't like telling people no.
Other scenarios would have to be evaluated specifically on their own merit.
But we don't, and the potential impact on existing commitments and known infrastructure improvements that need to be made down the road cause us to be super cautious on saying that we can do additional commitments at this time, particularly in light of knowing that we've been both addressing citizen boards and the governing body that for the next 4 years, we really have to be mindful on what we spend because of our commitments.
Larry, you might remember this, up on 183rd, when we ran a water line up 183rd, the council participated in the oversizing of that water line. But I think the developer brought it up, but then the council participated in the oversizing from either 8 to 10 or 10, or 8 to 12, I can't remember what it
8
was.
to 12.
8 to 12. So, I guess that's an example how you did participate with a developer.
If we came up with some sort of a, so we all work together on it, and we're not opposed to that in any way, if we can get it, if you say we can actually do it with like the 8-inch coming in, and it does make sense to do the loop and for future growth to have it there, if we could figure out a way to, if you guys could extend it down 215th and we'd take care of the rest, then you can make that any size you want for future or present.
You mean participate in an 8, you'd take care of the 8-inch, is that what you're saying? Or-
Well,
or-
I would hope that you would take the 12, bring in the 12 or 8, whatever you want down that side. If you're saying that we could get by with the main coming, with the water coming in on, you know, if we had to for now, coming in there by the school, we would take care of that if you guys can bring it down, whatever size you determine to, down 215.
I guess my comment was I'd prefer bringing it down 215.
Yeah.
And then the city would absorb bringing it over from Walnut. I think that's what Larry mentioned.
I mean, we'd be okay with that, but again, I think we would have to figure out what size we would have to have for us alone. And then the difference, the city take care of the difference.
I think a lot of those scenarios, we just have to put the numbers on paper and then you guys get comfortable with it so that then that could be brought back to them at some point if we're talking about an alternative proposal.
Yeah.
That, just what would that and until you see the numbers, I understand you won't want to commit, but, and likewise with the council, but, I mean, those sorts of numbers could be developed, yes. If the council wanted to see those and then make their decision accordingly.
I mean, if we could get some kind of working agreement on that to where that would be acceptable, then we could get some numbers together.
I mean, just in comparative to the 183rd water main, the developer paid for the 8-inch, so let's bring that over here. The developer paid for the 8-inch, bringing it down from 215, but the city then paid for oversizing it to the 12-inch.
Oh, I got a perfect idea. You guys just build a community center for us.
And library.
And a library.
There's your wish list again.
Well, if we absorb the cost of the lift station, which it sounds like we're gonna, if we go forward, we're gonna have to, I mean, would you guys consider bringing the 12-inch down to our land? And then from there, we could use it for our development, but then you guys also have the opportunity to always tee onto that and
Sure.
extend it to wherever you wanted it from there.
No, I mean, the water main does serve more property, would serve more properties than the 183 or 188, whatever it is, the 173 total area that the lift station serves.
Correct.
Right,
So,
right.
again, I'm just trying to provide technical information. The decision on who will pay for what, that's not my decision, so.
Well, we're just trying to get some, you know, we've been working on this, and we appreciate your guys' time for,
Sure.
you know, 5 months, but,
He said he could do the lift station.
but if we took the lift station and you brought water to our land, and then that water could extend to other developments, it would benefit us, you know, for our development, but it would also benefit, you know, several future developments for you guys. And I mean, if you're talking about 150 or so, that, I mean, that might be a lot less for you guys to, you know, participate in.
Harlan, do you have any idea of what, how much difference there is in price from going 8-inch to like a 10 or 12-inch on just the material?
Oh, I mean, of course, pipe prices are crazy. I would say maybe $10 in today's market, I don't know. From an 8 to a 12, maybe $10 a foot in material, that's just a guess. But the big expense of the 40 or 50 to lay is to lay it. You know, the $40, maybe $40 for an 8-inch and 50 for a 12-inch. That's just some rough numbers that I had thrown out there, and hopefully those have some cushion in them, and the bids would come in lower than that. But
Did you have a number on that, Chris?
I did not run the number on.
Okay.
I mean, I think we were I know in his lift station, and essentially, it's pretty much equivalent to the pipe. He had estimated, I think, $35 for a 4-inch force main. And it's essentially the same pipe. City of Wichita is using C900 for force mains as well anyway, so. But they thought they could get a 6-inch done for that. So we're in that range, 30 to 35 for a 6-inch, 40 for an 8-inch, and maybe 45 for a 10, and 50 for a 12. Those are just some rough numbers.
So basically, it sounds to me like we're interested to helping out, but we just need those numbers. Right? I mean, so what do you want from us then?
And we'll also need to run the numbers on the operating impact, Councilman Trailer, on what's the principal
And
and
that
interest,
community
say
center,
6% for
you know, Right, girls?
350,000. We'll have to be able to pay for that.
Well, wouldn't it be best if maybe, after what these developers have heard tonight, if they come back to us with an alternative proposal and say, hey, okay, in light of what we've heard tonight, here would be our counter to you? I mean, if that's
There
what,
we go.
if that's what you want to hear, I mean, I'm
Yeah.
not trying to tell you what to do.
That sounds
No,
perfect.
that
I mean,
sounds.
But
with
we
numbers
would like
on-
some guidance to show us so that we don't come back
With some.
Right,
with
and
something
violate
that
a
you
bunch
guys
of
don't want.
expectations.
Yeah, and, because we're not trying to shove something down your throat, but we've been on this for, like, say, 5 or 6 months. Dwayne's been very good to deal with on this. He's given us extension after extension after extension, but he's kind of running thin as we are. We've got other things cooking too, so we just need to know.
I think at this point, what I would like to see is a proposal regarding what it would run for the 8-inch pipe from Kellogg to your land versus the 12-inch, or whatever we're talking here. So we have the numbers so we can see the difference, so we can say, at this point, we can commit this much to that project, if we're even able to, willing to, et cetera. But I think at this point, the consensus I'm hearing from
And
you
what we
guys
need
is
to
that the
do
lift station's not,
You guys need to get us.
Or do you have an
budget.
acceptable number where you want to be? I mean, no more than, or what? I
You need to
mean,
get us that final.
I know that's hard to say
budget
too,
number
but
yeah.
That we can actually use.
What do you think, Ryan?
No, in the past, like Harlan said, we've helped to upsize the pipe. It just depends on, I guess, how much that's gonna run, how much that's gonna take out of our budget.
Well, and I'll just, right quick here, if we bring water from Kellogg all the way down to 23rd, okay, which that's not what they asked, that's about 5,000 feet. And if you upsize that pipe, I'm gonna guess, and it was, and $10 is a good number for the upsizing. If the lay cost was the same, that's $51,000. And then if you throw in, if you said you might be willing to consider bringing it over from Walnut, that's another $40,000 or $50,000. So that's,
It's still a long shot off of us participating in 350,000.
No.
but now I wasn't sure if that's what they were asking for. I'm not sure what they were at, did they say they'd pay for the 8-inch?
We're in that 100,000 range is what we'd like to see. We just talked about it. I think if we can get close to that, we can probably make something work if we have to. We can take care of the others some way or another, possibly.
Back of the envelope amortization for 350,000, we're estimating to be roughly 25 to 30,000 a year. Between 3 to 6%. That would be the B&I.
So, correct me if I'm wrong. If the city would contribute $100,000 in some fashion to the water line project,
And then we take,
and you take the lift
then
station.
we take the lift station. Well, what I was saying is if we took the lift station, but then they brought water, obviously 8-inch is what we need, but you would obviously want to bring 12-inch so you guys could feed other communities. Would you guys pay for the water to come down just to the corner of our land? And then you could always tap on it from there. I mean, you're going to have a utility easement in the neighborhood. I mean, you wouldn't even have to bring it all the way to 23rd. You could just bring it right to the corner.
Yeah, and I hadn't previously estimated that. So let me go back to the number I did prepare for them. Just a second here. If that's roughly, let's just use 3,000, nice round number, 3,000 feet, at $50 a foot is 150, and you take it times design, that's 200,000. That's what it takes to get to the 12-inch to your main entrance is 200,000.
All the way to the main entrance, is that the,
Yeah.
about halfway down?
About
About a third of the way down.
Just north of that lake.
So that would be the city's portion, if the city would agree to do that, and then also bringing it over from Walnut, then you're 250,000. Right, I mean, so just,
Which we couldn't do 3, I don't know how we're gonna do, I mean. 250.
Well, you wouldn't have to do the Walnut right off the bat, would you? I mean,
Yeah,
you could at
well, yeah, that's what I'd
least-
say.
you would have the easements, and that way you could generate some revenue, and then something that you guys, if you were gonna add on to that water line, you could bring across through one of our easements. I guess we're just trying to figure out what, I mean, if
Right.
we come
Yeah.
back with
Oh, yeah.
something, is it something that
That's-
you guys are
yeah,
gonna consider, or?
Exactly.
There's,
Well, Matt, is it even 100,000 something we could handle, or?
I mean, we can do whatever you guys want to do. It's just it's a matter of realizing that we're pushing something back for a year or 2 years, and we won't know that until we have really hard numbers and go through the capital budgeting process to prioritize the projects we know we need to do.
when you need that water line, you need it this year?
You'd need it.
Next year.
Yesterday.
I guess that raises.
You need it next year?
That raises
By
a
May.
question in my mind, is that if you're gonna start at the south end and we just bring it down to the first entrance, how are you gonna get what, you're gonna have
They'll
to
have
bring
to
it in.
petition it,
You'll have to bring it in
Yeah.
from
they'll
there.
petition it
Okay.
down
Okay.
to
Okay.
get to their first phase.
It's close, half, where we're gonna divide halfway is pretty close to that.
And we have 177,000 in our water reserve fund. That's our fund balance. It's like 177,200 and something.
But what else is that used for?
That's reserve, that's usually uh-oh money.
There we go.
So as long as we don't have a
Well,
lot
They had some well repairs this year that cost.
Yeah, we had
probably that.
the well repair money that we put into that this year. We also,
We just got that stuff repaired though, right? And,
I'm ready for it.
those lights, whatever. they
Well,
were.
it would be our recommendation that we replenish that with capital.
Thanks.
we put 50,000 back into that
Well, then how
fund.
many meters are we gonna need?
Correct.
How many meters we got in stock?
Brooke, how many meters we got in stock?
How many meters we have in stock? Literally 7 right now today, and I have 4 more.
I think so.
Well, yeah, that's another
Are
thing.
they on a
They're hard to
ship
get, right?
out in the middle of the ocean?
They can be. They can be. Say
You
again.
do the electronic ones?
Yeah, we use cam strips. So, yeah. That was something I was going to report more.
So I guess the question from,
Be inclined, I think, to pay for the upsizing, or whatever the upsizing would cost, and then for us to help with that loop eventually. We wouldn't have to do that loop immediately.
We don't have to do that loop immediately.
Yeah.
but if they petitioned for the water line to come down 2/15, 12-inch, would the city consider pitching 100,000 towards that effort? The petition would say, the cost is whatever it is, the city is gonna pay 100 grand, the lots in the subdivision pay the balance, and then they take the lift station on for their own lots. So
Yeah,
you'd be
they're
investing
paying- they're using the lift
$100,000.
station,
Right, so our responsibility would be 100,000.
100,000.
Just
And that
a
would
Just
get us-
100,000.
And that would
That
get
way
us
we
a
don't have-
12-inch line down to their first entrance.
Right, you could hook on later
That way
or
we don't
extend
have
it
to do a
later.
percentage, or it's not gonna change later on down. You know what you're getting into right up front. And that sounds like a cleaner deal for everybody.
But
I don't think you need to vote on anything tonight, but if that's the direction you're leaning, you need to direct staff to work with the developers to figure out what that looks like. I think Matt's probably got to figure out what the financials look
So,
like.
Yes, we can do it. The way I believe it will work, if we're talking about $100,000, is we would essentially encumber $25,000 a year for 4 years, like we've done with the Arbor Creek lift station, like we've done with the Rustic Creek project. But that, just keep in mind that that's $25,000 less for 4 years that we can't do, a new project in the park or
The frontage road
frontage
on the
road.
north side of Kellogg being
Uh,
redone to coincide with the R-cut.
So, we're talking, and this is, we're just encumbering funds for short term, so we don't have to take out permanent financing. We're still gonna be taking out, this is probably gonna have to be included possibly with, a temp note for one of those street projects. It's just that much more we're adding to it, but hopefully we're not actually, I don't know, possibly that would happen. I mean, we may be able to do it and just hold on to the cash, but that's how we would fund it. We're not gonna, for $100,000, I don't think we would, I'm gonna say yes, we can do it. It's just, we still have commitments going forward that are going to require us to make hard decisions. This is not gonna make or break that, but, it's much easier to do than it would have been if we were paying for half the lift station and committing to some sort of water improvements as well.
And what percentage of those, we put in 60 to 70 water meters, what percentage of that money comes back to you guys to refill that?
We always put in our water meters.
yeah.
Well, I know,
It's
but,
standard that we do. I mean, you put the infrastructure in the cans.
well, I'm just saying, once you start billing those out,
Just say billing them out.
yeah, I mean, how much of that
He's saying the
revenue
revenue.
goes back towards refilling?
Yeah.
And again, we're not using revenue from that to pay for this. We're using essentially our sales tax revenue for this, and which means that we're not using our sales tax for other improvements that we would be doing. So there's not really government fund accounting does not work like a business where there's one pool of money and you take some from it and put some back into it. We have statutory requirements for how we spend our money based on the type of revenue, where it comes from, and the type of expenditure we make. So I know it doesn't make sense strictly from a business understanding, but we have to operate within those requirements.
So I'd like to direct staff to work with these gentlemen for the $100,000.
You're making a motion?
Yes, I am.
And that's
Something, I'm doing
Hey,
something.
you said you're
Don't
making a
interrupt
motion.
me,
then.
Brent.
You're making a motion, or?
I would say directing staff to come back at the next meeting with what would $100,000 participation by the city look like?
Okay, that.
And how would it be financed and how would it impact the budget?
For the 12-inch line. Please,
Hey, I second your motion.
thanks.
Okay. Guess if there's any other discussion, none, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed?
Does that work for you guys?
When's the next meeting? Can we get a yes or no to the next meeting?
The 18th.
The 18th of,
So Harlan and I will be in touch,
Okay.
because we'll have to figure out numbers.
It'd be the 15th.
15th, sorry.
November 15th.
Well, once we get some numbers, I think we could get you an answer for the next meeting. If they got the numbers together.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't it just, what I heard is that they asked for 100,000. The board said, bring us back what 100,000 looks like. I mean, so there aren't really any other numbers other than where does it come from, right?
Right.
Well, I'm thinking of phase development and home values and.
Oh, okay, oh, yeah, okay.
Because that'll help try and figure out how many homes for break even and try and get a development agreement crafted with some clawbacks so that if they don't develop on time, then how do we make sure that,
So we done in Metro,
yeah.
the other station.
Is that satisfactory to you?
Thank you.
Yep, sounds great.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you very much.
We got there the long way.
I ruined it, I walked in and said, oh, it's gonna be a short meeting, we only have 2 agendas.
Oh, we still have.
Well, you got
We're up 14 to 7.
Okay. Well, Matt was the one that, he was really wanting to get home and
Yeah, the
watch it.
Chiefs are.
Oh, he's already watching it.
6:37 went to the city court.
Yeah.
Did you think we
All right. So you might have to find. You're welcome. Hey, you guys, if you need to stand up and move a little bit, go ahead.
Hey, all right.
I was ready to stand up. Okay, we got a clicker somewhere. Okay, which one's the laser pointer? The top one?
At the top right here, and there's your click over.
Okay, very good. Thank you. You guys didn't stand up. Good evening. That was informative. We have lots of pictures, so that'll help. My name's Lisa Stoller. I'm the current president of the Goddard Women's Club. And I didn't need to give you that slide. That's pretty good, Thatcher.
Oh,
Let's see here. Here we go. This is not the right thing.
That's mine from last year.
That's how you had a picture that wasn't mine. You want
Yeah.
the flash drive back?
I can get it up pretty quick here.
Okay.
I hope.
Hey, you can do it for mine last year.
It's like, this doesn't look familiar. I mean, it kind of does, but. That's what we needed, was some more dead space.
What would you think about myself? What'd you think about my liberal city councilman? Yes. See that on Facebook?
Oh, sorry about that.
Here we go, there we go.
Stock it.
All right, this is our 88th year in Goddard. We are a part of a much larger organization, the General Federation of Women's Clubs. And we are the longest running service organization of Goddard. We have 21 members right now. And our pandemic motto, even when we can't be present, we want you to feel our presence. The last year and a half has been pretty tough on us. The vast majority of our group is high risk. So we do very much appreciate being allowed to use the pavilion for our meetings. We did the Zoom thing a lot and then used the pavilion. These are our numbers from 2020. In the white is for GFWC and ours are in blue. So our total projects for 2020 were 64. Now some of those things were like, we have a Facebook page, communication, record keeping, that sort of thing. But you'll see we do have a lot of projects going on. We had over 2,000 volunteer hours, made over $2,000 of monetary donations and over $4,000 worth of in-kind donations, things like underwear for the children's home and all kinds of things. Our eldest member turned 101 this year, and we had to do a Zoom thing. We had a poster of her life on there. Her name is Betty Shaw. She's very dear, and I'm happy to report we did get to go see her in person in August. If you ever get a chance to speak with someone that age, it's a neat experience. We did lose Betty Hickson this year. She was a member for 31 years. She held the office of president more than anybody else in our history, so we definitely feel her loss. We have what we call signature projects. And our biggest initiative is probably literacy and education. We founded the Goddard Public Library, staffed it, ran story hours, did everything at its foundation. And we continue to be very active in the library. We try to help create a welcoming space. So 2 years ago, we did the children's section in the Reading Kingdom. And then, let's see if I can get this to work. There it is. Okay, the stairwell, we decorate that seasonally or with whatever theme is coming up in the library. So that's in there right now. It was 101 reasons to get a library card, I think. And then just recently, is it finished, Janine?
Just about.
Almost.
I need more pink lids. Drink more milk.
Yes, we need pink lids. This is a recycling project, and Chicka Chicka Boom Boom is a very popular children's book. So this is in the hallway near the bathrooms. Janine really took the lead on that one, but we've all been collecting lids.
Yeah, it's all lids.
And the lids that we don't use are going to be made into benches. We are big supporters of the Friends and Foundation of the library, so, whoops. Okay. There it is. Okay. We help donate books and work the book sale. We donated baked goods to the bake sale. And these are early literacy multisensory kits. And this one was purchased in honor of Betty Shaw's 101st birthday. But we've provided several now for the library. And if you have little ones in your life, these are great to check out. We also have 3 members serving on the library board, including the current president and vice president. 3 members are officially active on the Friends and Foundation. And then we just support projects that the library needs. So keeping the lending library full, the blessings box. Carrie, who is the programming and outreach specialist, asked for a little booth, so one of our members and her husband provided that. Our new bookmobile, one of our members is deconstructing that right now, and we'll be reconstructing that. And we, last summer, the Storytime with Santa, they provided drawings for participants, so we provided a cookie basket. Read Across America, in years past, we've been able to do great big events. We couldn't do that this year, but we did provide books for 25 children and craft kits for them. And sadly, we have not been able to resume Storytime with the Puppet Ladies yet. As you can see in the far right corner here, this is what our crowds look like most of the time. And obviously we can't do that right now. I'll put in our plug for our new library space, because this really isn't ideal at any time. We could certainly use a lot bigger space for programming at the library. Another signature project is our Books and Blankets project that we do for the schools. We keep 2 closets stocked with a variety of blankets and books for children who are in crisis, lost a parent, lost a sibling, are sick themselves. Unfortunately, all kinds of things befall our children. And the counselors then have something tangible to give to them, and We hope it feels like a hug from their community. That is probably our most expensive project. So we have to work real hard to keep that going. We pay for 2 students to attend the Hugh O'Brien Youth Leadership Academy, or HOBie, each year. 1 from each high school. They came and saw us in September. Very enthusiastic group. They give us a lot of hope for our future. Great leaders. We support the 2 high school musicals financially, and we get to go see their dress rehearsals and provide them with a little audience to help them take it a little more seriously and get a little feedback. So that one's coming up in a couple weeks at Goddard High School.
No, actually, you got those mixed around.
Do I?
Yes, it's Eisenhower's.
Yes, I do. Sorry. Yep. Eisenhower's doing Annie. Goddard High School's doing The Little Mermaid. We hope that you'll go to both. Elder care is very important to us. During the pandemic, we've not been able to go into the care homes. So last year, we started doing Christmas cards. We have the names of all the residents at both Dove Estates and Medical Lodges, and we send them personalized cards. This year, we're actually making the cards too. And we adopt 2 residents who don't have family at Medical Lodges, and we get Christmas lists for them, and we fulfill everything on their list. And then last year, we also took some baskets to both care facilities for their staff. One thing I will say that we're very concerned about, especially since the pandemic hit. Before the pandemic, some of our seniors got food delivered, like a Meals on Wheels thing, from Medical Lodges, but they had to stop that with the pandemic. They have not resumed that, and I actually called to find out if they were planning to, and they said they would love to, but they don't have enough staff. So they barely have staff to take care of the folks they have in residence. So we're very concerned that our elders here do not have access to meals, and that's one reason we're hoping that a new community center can accommodate some kind of meals for our seniors. This was a new project this year for Neighbors United. We usually just handed out food for lunch during Neighbors United, but that was all changed. So we adopted the planters at Lanier Park. We wound up, we had planned on just doing 2, and then someone, we never have figured out who, at the memorial part of the park, imitated what we'd put in the other planters over there, but then they weren't caring for them. So we had to adopt those also. And Janine got tired of looking at the weeds in the round pots, so she put some patriotic decorations in the other pots, and I think that really made the park look festive. We are hoping that there'll be a better water supply in the future, because most of us had to just bring water from our houses. There's a water source close to the pavilion, but when it gets down to the Memorial Park,
Contact me, we'll make water available.
okay. And these planter boxes, I think they were a scouting project. They need some love. This summer was hard on them. They're not nearly as well painted or stained as they are in these pictures, and they're starting to fall apart.
We need new boxes.
Yeah.
We need brand new boxes.
We probably do need
properly designed so
things
they
that
hold
will hold together.
Yes.
Yeah. And something that might keep those creeping vines out.
That's the plan.
Whoo, those are just tenacious.
Yes.
So we were out there all summer, all fall, fighting those vines. We were at National Night Out, and Janine donated 2 drawing backpacks full of school supplies. We support many other organizations in the greater Wichita area. So Gerard House is a part of the Wichita Children's Home, And they serve young mothers and mothers-to-be, many who have been trafficked. And so we provided them with Mother's Day gifts. We give money to parents as teachers every year to buy books for their children at Christmas. We usually provide blankets for McKinney-Vento Homeless Youth Program in Wichita. They couldn't do their regular giveaway, but they asked for lanyards for masks, so we provided, I don't know, 120, 150 of those. The Wichita Children's Home told us they needed underwear, and our ladies really dug deep. We donated over $700 of underwear. That's a pretty big deal for little kids to have underwear that they like. So we got a big variety. We donated to the Goddard Mitten Tree, Ronald McDonald House Charities. We collect items that they use, donate money. We usually cook. We haven't resumed that yet. They just started allowing people to come in and cook again, but only in teams of 4 to cook for 40. So, yeah, we'll get there soon. We would love to sprinkle money like fairy dust everywhere, but we have to make that money. So, our books and blanket project, we discovered we got pretty good at making blankets and we could sell them. And we also made some jewelry to sell. So we were out at Fall Festival, which the weather was not great, but we did okay and we had fun. We had raffle baskets, and now we know this is Chiefs and K-State country. KU, not as much. Who knew? Here are some of the blankets that we have. I'm going to shamelessly pitch what we're selling. You can get any Division I team, all of the professional sports teams from anywhere. Any kind of decor, different career choices, young children. We have holiday stuff, and we haven't forgotten the pets. And we take one educational tour a year, and this year we went for fun, and we had the carousel tour that taught us about the history and restoration process of the carousel that's out at Botanica now. And before I end, just have to show off, just so you know. So this is an example of our blankets. They're 2 layers of fleece. They're soft and warm and durable and washable and all those things. Got a Wichita State one too. And that's it. We appreciate the city's support in our endeavors. Anybody have any questions? If I don't get these ladies over to the game soon, I'm going to have a mutiny on my hands.
Would the council like to direct staff to send them their $1,000 contribution we send every year?
Yes, we'll direct you to give them their $1,000 fund.
Thank you so much.
We do appreciate your help. This fundraising has been pretty challenging too, but we want to keep doing all the good things.
It's budgeted and it's under our expenditure authority.
Right here. Lisa, right here.
Sorry about that.
That's
Must
okay.
have grabbed the one from last year.
That's okay. So good.
Working it up.
Where'd Ryan go?
Are you doing city administrator's report?
Okay.
Right.
Mike actually has the next report.
Sure. Okay, thank you. Yeah. You can do that.
So we struck the MFA agreement because our IT company is still working on it. So that'll be going on the next meeting. Is the cover sheet wrong?
Did you guys,
So H3 moved to H2.
are we good?
Those things are crazy.
This is the item for the day.
It's only be 30 or 45 minutes right here.
This will be?
Yeah, well.
No less than
it was
2.5
well-intentioned.
hours.
They were, and they
The
served
ones
their
that
purpose,
did,
and they
yeah.
served their purpose, and that's.
All right, Honorable Mayor and City Council, I'm going to move forward. And as the city grows and demand for services increase, city staff continue to look for more ways to streamline efficiency and increase efficacy on the city processes and functions. On January 6, 2020, City Council approved the purchase of OpenGov software to create the city's first online permit portal. The permit portal has helped citizens and staff manage permit applications in many ways, including but not limited to storage, payments, and processing. OpenGov is structured in such a way that each department must be paid for separately. This means building permits, fences, electrical, mechanical, plumbing, etc. will be considered a different department than zoning applications, conditional use permits, rezoning plats, and etc. With successful launch in 2020 and the consistent use of software, the Community Development Director, being myself, would like to add another module to software to start looking at processing zoning applications for variances, conditional use applications, and platting projects, to name a few, through OpenGov. City Council will be considering the purchase of an additional module for OpenGov software platform. OpenGov is a platform for the city's permit portal and has been in use since 2020. OpenGov allows the city to streamline processes for fast turnaround time. The purchase cost for an additional module will be $8,000 up front, and there will be an annual recurring fee of $7,000. Financially, staff recommends allocating the proposed software purchase to line item 10-530-7130 General Fund Planning, Zoning Software License, and legally approved as form. That's
Fastest I've ever seen.
very much so. Recommended City Council approve purchase of additional module open up permit modification processes.
So basically, this will save you time and it will
Yes.
centralize stuff? Okay.
Yeah, it's all about my personal and emotional well-being. This is what this is about.
Trevor, will make a motion to approve the H2 recommendation.
Second.
Motion by Brent, second by Sarah. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay.
Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
So you know now, if you want something, you just go
Yeah, I
last
just go really
after
fast.
a really, at last after
I
a
just-
really
I
long
just go
meeting.
fast, yeah.
Yes.
All of our fleet purchases will be after.
Talks fast like that, just like they do as a disclaimer.
You know what your retirement plan
Just
is.
all the agenda items, yeah.
We should talk that faster, it gets quarterly report.
Just a view of the Starbond site. You can see the roundabout, the hotel, the health club. This would be the competitive swimming venue, the water park with the child care facility off to the left here. Another view looking back to the west with the child care facility and the water park. I just updated on our quarterly report that you saw previously with the number of units available for each subdivision, and looking at approximately 72% filled with 28% available. Arbor Creek's clubhouse, parking lot, and the pool area. Another view looking back to the southeast there of Arbor Creek. And then we've been dealing with, you can't quite see it, you can see this drive here. There's a utility conflict with our sanitary sewer line and a Evergy pad that they set on top. It's not on the manhole, but we're working with them to get that relocated to do the excavation that's 16 foot deep. That transformer would be floating in the air for when that connection's made. All 50 lots in Cloverleaf are built out. The gray area here is phase 2 that's currently under construction, and that's a liberal term because they're pretty much done. As you can see here with the electrical going in, and foundations are also running concurrently with stormwater drainage, and this is looking back to the south-southeast. Elk Ridge continues to flourish, and again, all the lots have been sold, so we expect that to be fully built out very soon. Rustic Creek continues to go. They've had some weather issues and probably will have some more here very, very soon. You can see the little black lines. There's the stormwater compliance, and that helps with the runoff. Only other items to note is we have our community cleanup on November 20th. Items that are not allowed are mattresses, batteries, paint and chemical cans, or any appliances that contain Freon. Then the next spring cleanup day will be in April of 2022. That's in conjunction with our Neighbors United. We did poll the MFA as we're working to research insurance compliance and seeing if there are some cost-saving options that we may be able to look at with that. And what we're asking for there is some switching that essentially controls the remote access. I don't understand all of the nuances to how that goes, but it's a requirement, and we're one of the early adopters of this, but it will be coming down in 2022 as a requirement for not only most cities, but most private networks as well, for cybersecurity. We'll have that presented on November 15th, as well as sign regulations, equity, benefit fee, structure discussion. Public Works Director Brooke Brandenburg will also present a snow route and removal overview as we're getting into the storm season, so that you can see our primary and secondary snow routes for a snow emergency should we have one. Then we'll have also on that the discussion of the $100,000 impact fee. We'll have building design standards on December 6th, community center update and discussion December 6th, and the municipal code cleanup December 6th. If there are no questions, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Well, I know that we're pushing time for money, helping with that oversight. But I also think that, could help possibly make future development happen, less of an impact on us. At that time, if we have, the goal would be giving them as $100,000, I don't know, I think so it'd be foolish for us not to upsize that a little bit, knowing that there's a potential out there to get more development going. I'm not in favor of giving them the whole thing, but I think if we can give out $100,000 and still keep them interested in developing, it might not be a bad thing. But I wouldn't necessarily go more than that. Still keep their interest.
I like how they went from 50% to paying a full 100% for that pump station. They're paying 100% of it. Yeah.
But, that would at least keep them interested and keep looking
Right.
at what it costs tops there.
So I feel like we went.
I don't think we've got to put that loop in there like Harlan wants right away. I mean, we can work that in as we can afford it, I suppose. But I know that upsizing helped going up 183rd, the development there, did it, Harlan?
I believe so, yes.
Well, you guys had a good discussion on it, so,
Yeah.
is that all you had to say, Larry?
That's all.
Sarah?
I don't know.
Have nothing? Brooke?
So that was the first one. Let me see. Mark your calendars. November the
Second.
is it 13th? November 13th. Saturday. That's a Saturday, right? November 13th, Saturday.
Yep.
Yeah. Opening day of pheasant season. So everybody mark their calendars. Get out there and get your hunting license and go hunting.
We're going to Hazelton?
Yeah,
Oh yeah, you want to come?
I guess I also need to remind people if you haven't voted, get out there and vote tomorrow's day.
Tomorrow's November 2nd. Voting is very, very important, so make sure we all get out and vote. All right, is that everything we want to say? Yes? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Got something to say?
Nope, I'm good.
Motion adjourned.
Motion by Brent,
Second.
second by Sarah. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye.